Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Beyond the Trail podcast, brought to you by Jester Wallis Productions. I am one of your hosts, and this gentleman, what's happening, Austin?
What's going on, my friend?
You know, a lot.
We have been a little busy this past week.
Yeah. Before we get into that, we do need to talk about the lovely Hiker Metals, our brand partner this year for 2023. Let me pull up the screen and see if I can make it work.
So Wim has been like all over it with cranking out some new metals. So I know he just came out with the Florida Trail, and then he's got some pretty exciting international stuff coming out. I think there's an Iceland. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the Icelandic trail that's on there. The metals are just so odd. Like each one is so unique. I'm going to be real honest. It makes me like, we all have that list of trails we want to do in our life, whether it's the big three or whether it's, something international or whether it's something local. And here's all these trails I didn't even really know existed or routes that I didn't know existed. And now there's a metal form. So I feel like I have to go now.
I know. I just want to buy them all.
Like the Smokies 900, that for me, the Smokies 900 would be like a lifetime achievement thing. If I'm pushing my walker through the finish line, that's a win. But what a beautiful Smokies 900 miler, especially that metal is beautiful and has so much meaning. So that particular metal is the result of our collaboration with Miss Nancy East and the Haywood County Search and Rescue team. And so a portion of the proceeds from that metal go to the Western North Carolina Wilderness Safety Fund, which is a fund specifically for supporting the Haywood County Search and Rescue team with all of the things that they need, whether it's equipment, training, and it goes directly to them. And so that is who we have chosen to support for the proceeds from our film, Safe and Found.
So Wim is amazing. And right before we came on, I told Austin I had some props.
Yeah, you had visual aids. I'm intrigued.
Yeah. And I always try to figure out, how to introduce our guest that we have on for the evening. And one of the ways I'm going to introduce, and this might spark something in Heidi's memory. When I got this medal, I was fresh off of the Wonderland Trail. Me and a couple of my girlfriends, we had just completed the Wonderland Trail. We were like pumped and, high, and it was amazing. And we had like 10 days worth of sun on the trail. It never rained on us on the Wonderland Trail, which is incredible. The very next day, it thunderstormed, it rained, and we were just hooping and hollering. When we got back into town, and that was 2019, that is actually when I met our guest later that fall, who we are going to introduce here shortly. So there's a little clue, there's a little twist. I don't know if Heidi knows what I'm going to show next. But before we get into that, Austin, you got to tell everybody what we've been through the last 5 days, which is absolutely amazing. I will say when we got home Sunday or Monday, I can't remember what day we got home, I collapsed, totally collapsed. I didn't even know who I was anymore. Austin, share with everybody what we've been up to.
So Safe and Found is the film that we've been working on for the last handful of months. And this past week, Julie and I went up to Northern Kentucky. If you follow us on Instagram or I think I posted it on Side Trail Adventures, but anyways, on the gram, we posted a shot of the Cincinnati skyline in the background. And so that's kind of where we were to film this interview. Probably I mentioned it in our live when we finished that day. Like for us as creators, it was like the Super Bowl of interviews. Unbelievable. The person that we talked to, I have such a tremendous amount of respect for. And I literally have no words.
Yeah, it was a very emotional interview, straight up from the first 3 seconds when we started talking to this person.
So you'll have to wait for the film to come out to actually see the footage, but absolutely amazing. So we went up to Northern Kentucky, did that on Thursday. I had to come back to Raleigh to work on Friday. So I drove, it was pretty much a round trip or a one-night trip for me. Worked Friday, and then I got on the road Friday night to drive up to meet you again in Elkins, West Virginia, which is, if you're looking at nowhere, it's just to the right of nowhere.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
No, it took me 2.5 hours from when I left the interstate. So it was 2.5 hours of constant winding roads to get there. But awesome.
I didn't know where I was, honestly. I had no idea.
Like West Virginia. Holy smokes.
Beautiful.
Unbelievably beautiful. So we were up there all day Saturday, and we're doing some work with the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association and doing some videos for the Allegheny Trail. So I am sporting an Allegheny Trail hat and an Allegheny Trail t-shirt to represent my new friends in West by God, Virginia.
What they call it. Austin's we always try to outdo each other on these episodes. He thought he was going to outdo me tonight with that hat, that t-shirt.
Lay it on me.
So we've been busy, and a good busy. Yeah. It's always awesome to be busy and doing something that brings you joy and fun. And we met some amazing people this weekend. And I'm telling you guys right now, the Allegheny Trail, if you want a 311-mile trail that is going to give you an amazing experience, and you guys, these people have been building this trail since early 1970s, if not earlier. And we met actually two gentlemen that have been building that trail since the late 70s, 80s through the 90s. And the first thing they said to us was, please we want hikers. We want people to be part of this community.
It's such a hidden gem that I just don't think a lot of hikers know about. So it's on Far Out, but I just don't think it's getting the love that it deserves.
No. So we're going to give it some love, some Yellow Blaze love. That story is to be continued. We are getting ready to bring our guest on, and I'm really excited to have Heidi on the show. So remember, I showed you, the Wonderland Trail, right? I met Heidi at a place here in Charlotte called Blue Blaze Brewing. I saw that Heidi, actually, you could commission art pieces from her. And I want to make sure I get this up here right. Remember, you guys, I was hot off the Wonderland Trail. I had this picture that I just thought was totally hilarious. I show this picture to Heidi. So this is me actually sitting on a privy, looking out over the Wonderland Trail. It was actually, I can't remember the name of the glacier. So I handed this to Heidi and I said, I want you to make me a piece of art.
That is gold.
Yeah. So this is my treasured item from our guest this evening. She has started her small business, Sketching Summits. Heidi embodies exactly the individual, I'm going to go ahead and bring her on, that we want to have on this show.
Yeah.
Somebody who has a love for the trail, a love for outdoors, and because of being inspired by the outdoors, has created their own small business. Heidi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for that great introduction.
Did you remember doing this piece?
I did, yes. And I can't believe I didn't remember it when you were teasing me earlier. But yes, absolutely. Yes, we just talked about it at Trail Days too. So it's a pretty memorable one.
Part of what we like to do on the show is people give their origin story. So I'm going to turn it over to you so you can kind of fill us in on how all this got started.
So my mom will tell you that I have been doing art since I ruined her white couch with magic markers when I was like 2.
Oh,
so
I mean,
I definitely, it was abstract expressionism, So I have definitely been more inclined to, I grew up in a very athletic family, and I was always I would say probably a little bit more of the black sheep, more inclined to lock myself in the room and read or draw or something else that was more solitary. So I have been painting and drawing forever. I got a little bit more into it about middle school. I think that was like what my friends were doing, and you just started to do it a little bit more independently and outside of, once school, you start learning like algebra and stop doing art projects. I was like, I'm just going to keep doing art projects on my own. And went on to get my Bachelor of Fine Arts from Winthrop University, which is in Rock Hill. So it's just south of Charlotte in South Carolina. And so I studied painting and printmaking in college, and really had I remember saying multiple times, I have no intention of being an artist when I grow up. I just don't know what I want to be. And art sounds like more fun to go to school for than anything else. So I'll get my degree, and then who knows what I'll do after. And that's not a great plan. So I had 2 or 3 years of just kind of like spiraling out of control post-college, and then found the Appalachian Trail, decided to do that as kind of, I called it my quarter life crisis. And I kind of broke up with art for a few years between college and hiking the AT. I just didn't really know what to do or how to do it or how to incorporate that time into my life, since I was working a full-time job and there just wasn't the motivation there. And so on the AT, kind of last minute I knew I was going to take a sketchbook, and then last minute decided to take watercolors as well. And I never worked in watercolor before, and just started painting on trail and managed to keep up the habit through the duration of the whole hike. So I filled 2 sketchbooks and kept a little trail log as well. And then came back and had an opportunity to like make and showcase artwork from the AT, and then it sold. And that was an unheard of concept for me. I never sold any of my art before. And so then I started realizing you can find this subject matter that's a common ground between myself and the experiences that I've had and all of the experiences that everybody else in the hiking community has had. And if you paint this picture of this place and it reminds them of their experience there, they're going to like it, you know, and they're going to respond well to it, or they're going to want to commission their own paintings and stuff. And so that's what I've been doing for the last, I through hiked 5 years ago. So for the last 5 years, I've kind of been developing on that path.
I was going to ask about that sketchbook from the AT. Have you still got it? I would presume you've still got it.
Oh yeah. That's like prized possession for sure. Couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah.
I had the whole thing scanned and on my website as well. So anybody else can look through and read my emotional misspelled frustrations that I jotted alongside the drawings.
Does that sketchbook or a form of sketchbook come out with you every time?
I've since done a few shorter trails. I did the Superior Hiking Trail in 2020, we attempted the CDT in 2021. So I had sketchbooks for both of those because I like it being a book to capture the journey. But for a lot of the shorter trips I'll do, I did this when I hiked the Pinhoti Trail last year. I carry loose pieces of paper that are cut to 5x7, like the size of a postcard. And what was cool about the Pinhoti is every time I got trail magic or a trail angel presented themselves or somebody did something kind for me, I was able to return the favor with the painting. So I just kind of, would do them as I go and then just, had them there. And it was really cool because people will go out of their way, especially on a small trail like the Pinhoti that's not as many people know and they don't get that many hikers. You don't have anything to give back to these people and you can offer money and of course they don't want it. And I'll trail angel and I don't want your money either, but it's a cool moment and it's a cool experience. And as a hiker, I come away with something. And as, a trail angel, it's just nice to be able to kind of reciprocate that. And it is crazy how the universe just collides you with the right people at the right time. I did a painting of Blue Mountain Shelter, had a great conversation with a woman and gave her that painting and then ran into her again later. And she was just like, I couldn't say this at the time because I was too emotional about it, but like that shelter is really important to me. My first backpacking trip there was with a friend who took me out and then she since passed away.
What a perfect way to reciprocate trail magic. I don't think there's a better way to do it. Like you said, nobody wants money. Nobody's doing anything for money. But what a perfect way to say thank you.
And on the CDT, I carried a sketchbook and I did still carry a few loose pieces. And then I got trail magic once. I drew out, the people sitting under the shade and drinking apple juice or whatever it was and gave that to the trail angel. And he was really enthusiastic about that. In Pie Town, I painted the interior of the cafe and I did it in my sketchbook. I couldn't tear it out. It was like a 2-page and there was stuff on the backs, but I let her scan it and print out a copy of the scan to just have in her shop as well.
You got little pieces of art like everywhere.
My brother pointed out recently, it's like the opposite of a minimalist. You're like a maximalist. And it's just every kind of corner of my house. If I have a piece of painting or art or something that can kind of fit in that little square, it's going to go there.
I'm very ignorant when it comes to art. So I have nothing to compare with Julie's Privy painting, but I do have one of your MST stickers. One of the things that jumped out at me for all of your work is that every piece is unique, but it's still got your style. Like I can look at it and be like, yeah, Heidi, that's one of Heidi's pieces. Artistically, how does that evolve?
Before the AT, I was working at a paint and sip studio and like the work I did in college is so very different. So that kind of had some influence of, a little bit more illustrative styles. And I found some other artists on Instagram and I never painted nature or landscapes before. So of course I was very influenced by these other artists and specifically like hiking outdoorsy artists and how they captured it. And I think I can see that in kind of some of the earlier work that I'm doing. Oh, like you were influenced by this person, you were influenced by that person. You can see it in the way that I attempt to draw or stylize like leaves or trees or flowers or something. And then eventually just the more you do it, there's no need. I still definitely love exploring other artists and seeing their work and being inspired by it. But like you said, it just develops. It just completely develops on its own. And, you kind of don't have to think about it. It's just second nature. It's like, I tried to paint the flower. That's how it turned out. I'm using reference photos or painting from real life, and so it's just doing my best to make it look like the thing. And also the more I paint kind of the same subject matter too, I paint rhododendrons a lot. I don't even have to look at a reference photo for that anymore. I just do it and it turns out the same every single time.
What was the catalyst that really made you turn? Because I remember when you were building your website. So you built a website, you turned this into a business, you had to go through initial stages of, I don't know if you did an LLC, I don't know if you ran to the bank and got a business account.
So definitely gradual. I was working full time at the brewery. And so it was just kind of like when I had the opportunity, when I could take it, I would take it. And then I got so I guess kind of two things. I got the job for Blue Ridge Hiking Company, formerly Jennifer Farr Davis's company, now owned by Lindsay Barr in Asheville, based out of Asheville, North Carolina. So I guide for them. That kind of shifted my schedule a little bit. That was like the dream job for me. As a result, because of the inconsistency of that schedule, step back from my role at the brewery a little bit more and then had to fill in the holes of this time of what do you do between, 2-week-long trips when you have 3 weeks off. And then additionally, we hiked the CDT. My husband broke his arm at 700 miles and we came home, obviously. So we came home a lot earlier and we had been planning that trip that was supposed to be Te Araroa in New Zealand in 2020 and then COVID. And so CDT was like our plan, like plan C, it wasn't even our original plan. And that happened. And I'm just like, I guess we got to go back to work. We've been sitting here like a version of unemployed, just kind of in limbo for a year and a half. And so we came back from that. And then also, quite frankly, I just had my little adventure fund that I had set aside for the CDT. And it takes money to start a business. You have to stock up your inventory and get all the prints and stuff. So it's like slowly chipping away at that. But then I was like, okay, we're going to take this money. We're going to get prints done. We're going to get stickers done. We're going to just go ahead and have enough of an inventory. And when you saw me at North Carolina Trail Days last year, that was the first art festival that I had done. And so a year of that under my belt, had my website up a little bit sooner than that. But yeah, I sat down and figured out, I don't have an LLC, I have a sole proprietorship, but yeah, what is sales tax? How do I charge it? How do I make sure that I am like doing everything correctly and by the books? I don't know how to do that. I don't have a business degree. I have an art degree. So it's been, some parts have been easier to learn than I anticipated, but then some parts have been like, I think a lot of it has just been like, what do you invest in? What products do you order? And then you order this product and it might be super popular. And so you order 20 more and then you realize everybody already bought it and nobody else is going to buy it. And so figuring out which way is the best direction for the money and which way is the best investment for my time. I want everything I create to be super special and super unique and different. And then sometimes eventually realize like I might be sitting here hand cutting out flowers to put onto greeting cards and stuff. And it's like, well, that took you 20 minutes and your profit on that is $2. So maybe we don't do that anymore. So we're still figuring that out.
What's your percentage, like working on sketching summits, percentage guiding, percentage doing independent prints for people, and working any other side hustles you got?
So mostly it's just those two now. I still help out at the brewery every once in a while and I lead our hiking club there. That's kind of all over the place this past winter. So guiding is seasonal. It's March to October. And this past winter was my first winter only doing art, only kind of having that as my income, partially because we took our honeymoon. We were gone for a month to Guatemala. And so it just kind of didn't make sense for me to put another job where other people needed me and my time into the mix. So just, oh my gosh, it just varies so much from month to month. May was a really big art month. June's been a really big guiding month, all over the place. I just kind of have to plan it out a few months ahead of time. Some months are really big on the art festivals. And then like in May, I did a mural for the Appalachian Trail Conservancy in Damascus. So that was a big thing for that month.
That was definitely something I wanted to talk about. I'm glad you brought it up. So yeah, talk about what happened.
A really wonderful woman named Donna out of Damascus hosts an event called Shop Till You Drop. It's a quarterly festival. And she reached out and asked me to come out for this September one and was like, your work would do well. We would love to have some, trail related artists here. That date coincided with my wedding. And so I was like, I'll come to the next one, which was December. And I thought about it and I was like, well, hikers aren't really in Damascus in December. And how much do the locals care about the AT or are they over it? But I was like, I'm just going to go. I don't know how it'll be. And it was a fine weekend, but there's a lot of resources and time and opportunities that are missed by going to these things. So I went to this festival and it was good. Like it was fine, but mostly I was like, we're here to schmooze. Like we're here to talk to people in Damascus and make sure that they know who I am and figure out how I can, get artwork here, especially during trail days and through hiking season, and just kind of explore the opportunities that are here. And Donna was great and introduced me to a number of different people. I got introduced to the folks over at the distillery as well. And they let me hang up some artwork for well over a month leading into trail days. And then I got introduced to Emily over at the Trail Center, which is in its first year of being there. And so then I just wrote to her and was like, hey, can I use your gallery space? Can I hang up some work during trail days? And she was like, we don't really know, what we're doing with that space or how to regulate that right now, but we need a mural artist. Do you want to just paint a 26-foot wall for us? And I was like, yes,
hello.
Yes, I do. Absolutely. So that's kind of how that, which is exactly what I think I see a lot of other artists get out there and be like, exposure doesn't pay the bills and get really sassy about it. If you give the time and the space to kind of talk to the right people and be in the right place at the right time, there might not be a great great something to come from it in that exact moment, but that doesn't, it won't come later on down the road. So it's just like a matter of being patient and just hopeful that I put myself in front of the right people, which I did. So that mural is on the side of when you're walking down Main Street, if you're coming into town as a Northbounder. The Trail Center is on your left, right by the Dollar General. And then they have a garden in their front yard, a sign for the ATC. And then behind that garden is a garage that they use for their trail maintenance tools and volunteer workshops and stuff. And so you see this big gray wall as you're walking in behind their sign, and people are stopping to take pictures of the sign, and they're just like, we need something prettier there. So there is now a scene of Grayson Highlands with ponies and blooming rhododendron, and Fabio, the famous pony Fabio, is featured.
Yes.
Very important. I had multiple people ask, where's Fabio? You're putting Fabio, right? I did that for the days leading up to trail days and then stayed for the festival. I was in Damascus, I think, for 11 days. I was like, I'm a local. They know me at the diner.
You struggled with that mural too, though, a little bit, because I know you ended up having somebody else with you. I was just enamored on your Instagram. I was like, is she going to finish it in time? What's happening?
Did it seem that stressful on Instagram?
Well, it seemed like you were stressed.
I talked to some of my friends who do murals, and they're like, give yourself more time. And I was like, okay, it should take 3 days, so I'll give myself 5. And no, it takes 10. Give yourself a lot more time. This was a cool story. This was super serendipitous. I had been in Hot Springs the week prior guiding, went out to lunch just on my own before the clients got there, and was sitting alone, just eating my sandwich. And there were some thru hikers at the table next to me, and I was just eavesdropping accidentally on their conversation. And then I was in Damascus and at the cafe, and I see one of these people that had been in Hot Springs, and it was probably a little creepy of me, but I just went up to them and was like, hey, I saw you in Hot Springs. I recognize your tattoos, and I was eavesdropping on your conversation. And they're just like, okay. But they're super friendly. And they're like, so are you through hiking in the overalls that you're wearing right now? Why are you in town? And we got to chatting, and I was telling them what I did. They were telling me that they, where they were from, what they had been up to, and that they have a degree from Savannah College of Art and Design and a background in art. And then, I was kind of low key interviewing them as I was like, oh, so do you have any painting experience? Do you have a sketchbook that you've been keeping and can I look at it? And so finally, and then they were telling me they had an injury in their foot. They wanted to take off 3 or 4 days leading up to trail days just to give themselves, kind of a 5-day break before getting back on trail to heal up a little bit. And we're hoping to find some odd jobs in Damascus so that they didn't just blow through their money while they were sitting there. So I was like, can I request a hand? And so I thought I just needed their help for a day, but they gave me 3 full days, 10-hour days of painting, and did a phenomenal job and had some really great additions, and was kind of able to address some areas of the painting that I was just kind of going to be like, okay, that's just going to be green and we're going to call it a day. And they're like, I'll put some trees in there and stuff like that. So their help was just insurmountable, and so serendipitous that the trail was just here is an artist who is looking for a job and has nothing else to do for the next 3 days, and was incredible company, and we got along great, and it was just absolutely perfect that they showed up.
When people say the trail provides, they're thinking about good weather or a water source, or just a fully educated and trained artist.
Just need to
the mural.
Move to Damascus and just be close to Main Street at all times and just see what pops up that I need in life.
you've been hustling and going to festivals. I know you've been down at Pinhoti Fest. I know you've been at Damascus Trail Days, NC Trail Days, putting your artwork up for realty companies, and you've done really well. So talk about just when did you decide, okay, I got to create a booth? Because I'll be honest with you, your booth is one of the best ones I've seen. I mean, it makes me want to come in there and buy all kinds of stuff. When did you decide, and tell everybody about your van?
So your first question, yes, and I forget who it was or what their name is, but they reached out to me last year about NC Trail Days. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll get the tent and I'll get the table and the table, and the tablecloth and the little display thing. So it's like something I knew I wanted to do and just hadn't sat down and looked at festivals to apply for yet. NC Trail Days reached out to me first and I was like, this is perfect. This will be my excuse to jump into this. Thank you. That's very kind. I feel like I'm just like grabbing things from my house that as a basket I can put prints in, and that's a basket I can put stickers in. I did just have like a upgrade recently. So I'm going to Art in the Park in Asheville this weekend if it doesn't get rained out, and kind of got some new furniture and new stuff to kind of make it a little bit more inviting. And I'm in a Facebook group about like booth displays and trying to figure out the best way to kind of draw customers in. The other part, when he broke his arm on the CDT and we went back to his family's in Boulder, so we ended up staying in Boulder for a while trying to just figure out what was next and seeing the doctors there since his insurance was based out of Colorado anyways. We were sad and we were bored and we were on Facebook Marketplace and we were looking at vans and we went and toured one. It was too expensive. I came home for a few days to kind of visit with some family and stuff as long as we were just sitting around, and he stayed in Boulder waiting for the next doctor's appointment. And he called me and he was just like, look at this one that I found and I'm going to go look at it. And it's a 1991 GMC Vandura and it's got a pop-up top. It's factory built as a van. You can't say conversion because it wasn't converted. It's factory built as a camper van. It's a pop-up top and the bed is in the top. Downstairs, you have two couches that face each other that can also fold out into a bed. So I have a guest room and then 10-gallon water tank, sink, 2-burner stove, a fridge, and solar. I was just like, screw it. You're sad and pouting. I'm sad and pouting. Let's get us a toy. And so we bought the van. I flew back to Colorado. We drove it out and we just kind of thought we were going to have it as this like toy to have occasionally and probably not use. And 2 years later, we'll probably sell it if it doesn't break first. And it has been the most useful thing for me doing the art festivals because A, all that stuff doesn't fit into my car comfortably. And B, I'm in Charlotte and most of the artwork I do is not like, I don't do well at the Charlotte markets. I do well at the Asheville markets in Western North Carolina and up in the mountains. And so I have to travel a lot for it. And so now I can travel and not have to incur the expense of a hotel or a place to stay, get a campground, stay in the van, and then just like have my little mobile art shop going on in there. And have gotten to do like, we did a week just kind of putzing up and down the Blue Ridge Parkway. I was scouting trails for guiding. We would hike in the morning and then go to the overlooks and just sit at the overlooks. And I would just paint for 5 or 6 hours. My husband and I spent a week doing that. That was actually the week that he proposed to me. It was like right after he got his cast off. And I got a whole body of work out of just like that experience. So it just makes, living here, living away from the mountains, it makes the mountains a lot more accessible and it makes some of these opportunities. So for the mural, I stayed in the van all week. It's just so much more affordable. It's so much more affordable that way. And it makes, when somebody comes to me and gives me a project to do, it makes it so I don't have to charge them $100 per day for me to stay at a hotel or something. I can cut that cost down for them as well.
I'm still getting over the sad, bored, and Facebook Marketplace. It's like a very expensive combination.
Yeah,
but
don't do it.
You've been able to turn it into something. So that's awesome.
Well, listen, the chat is abuzz. I do want to ask you Alonda's question. She asks, is there any area, type of art, subject, or media you want to expand or play around with in the future?
I would love to. So in college, I painted with oils, and I would love to go back into oils or acrylics. And what I would really, really love to do is get back into printmaking, which was the other half of my major. I just don't have the materials for it. If I were to get back into oils, I'd have to do 2 or 3 throwaway paintings before I could get one that I would like, And so it's just been like, do I really have the time to explore and play and learn? Or, I kind of feel like I'm still at the point and enjoying it too, being able to kind of really hone in on watercolor and work with that. I think printmaking for sure would be a really fun and versatile process to get back into. We have a really great artist residency program in North Carolina called Penland. I think it's Boone-ish area. It's in Western North Carolina. And that's been on my radar since college. And one of these days I would like to sit down and take the application seriously. They do like 2 or 3 week residencies with these really phenomenal facilities. So that would be great one day.
You have to break it down for me, Barney style. When you say printmaking.
So think pre-digital printing. Relief printing would probably be the most easy to explain, where you have like a linoleum block and you carve it out and you essentially make a large stamp. You run it through the press. You can do it in layers. So you'd print the blue and then you'd print the orange and then you print the outline. There are several different kinds. Screen printing, what you would know for t-shirts. That's what I did a lot of, screen printing in college. I can and do digitally reproduce my paintings, have prints made of them from somebody else who puts it on a machine and it goes through a printer. But there's just like a kind of stylistic element that you're able to achieve when you switch mediums. And so I think it'd be fun to explore.
Just as you were out scoping people at Damascus Trail Days, trying to find somebody to work with you, Austin and I, we're working on this film, Safe and Found, with Nancy East, the Haywood County Search and Rescue Team. And for me, a component that we've been looking for are sketches and digital art. So I'm going to turn this over to Austin and see how much he wants to reveal. But we were trying to find a local artist, a North Carolinian, because our film is based in North Carolina. We talked about you before, but I don't think Austin had seen some of your sketches like in person.
I absolutely love what we saw, what you had on display at NC Trail Days. And quite frankly, it got my gears turning in 7th gear. So we saw you, we finished our stuff at the Reeves Theater and we were walking down the street, saw you, chatted with you for a while, and then we were going to lunch. While we were chatting with you, I'm just taking it all in. I saw the books, I saw all the prints, got my wheels turning about Safe and Found. So we'll just leave it at that. We still have to have some official conversations about it, but here's a loaded question. Julie asked me this question it was probably a couple of years ago at this point, but she asked, how much time does filming take away from my hike? And so what I'm going to ask you is, how much does painting, because I had a certain response, and I'm just curious if you say the same thing or not. How much time does painting take away from your hike?
It adds so much more to the experience. I will say that I'm not the biggest mile crusher out there by a long shot, but I do like doing big days and I like doing long miles and don't always want to sit down and paint. And so it's on a long hike, it's just kind of the day to day.
That was the answer I was hoping you were going to say. So that was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Any form of the arts, any form of creating, or just whatever makes you feel more mindful. I have a friend who has her master's music performance. She hikes with a trombone. She takes her trombone out. She plays trombone to the cows on long distance through hike. She just started her PCT for her Triple Crown today. Yeah, whatever your passions are, figure out a way to take it with you, incorporate that into your experience. You don't have to just be hiker trash. You can be hiker trash with a sketchbook or hiker trash with a trombone.
That's fantastic.
Heidi, this has been awesome. Thank you for taking time out of your evening. Thank you to everybody that joined us in the chat. Alonda says, yes, you have to let the inspiration take you and not force it. And that's a lesson that I learn all the time. You kind of forget that sometimes. But Heidi, hang on. I'm going to switch it back to me and Austin. Don't go anywhere because we want to chat with you after the show. Truly, truly, truly appreciate it. And do you have any parting words? Oh, yeah. Tell everybody where they find you, your Instagram, all that stuff.
I am Sketching Summits on Instagram, on TikTok when I am on TikTok. My website is sketchingsummits.com.
Heidi, we'll be right back. Austin, another great episode. We'll sign off as always. Be safe out there, everybody.
And good times.